chatting and I'm gonna just
we
get
going
it
live?
off.
Hold on 1 second before
Okay.
you go live. Right, I'm ready. I'm ready though. I'm ready.
All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for coming and visiting us today on Champagne and Conversations. I got a little something for you all just so we can get started. You know, I try to do my own production, so we're going to make sure we start it off.
It was a beautiful day. It's going to be a beautiful night. Break out the champagne. Everybody get a glass. Let's start it off sexy. And all the ladies say.
Hey, we got Dougie Fresh, we got Marc Dorsey, and we got Champagne. Hello,
That's right.
everybody.
That's
How are
right.
you? I tried to get the beach vibe today, so that's what we're doing. A little bit of difference right now. I was hoping that we can switch it up, change the swag a little bit.
That's right. That's right.
How are you? How are you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Champagne and Conversations. Mr. Dougie Fresh, I have to say to you, you yesterday inspired me so much. You were talking with Kenny Burns and speaking to, you have one boss and you had only one boss. And when I grow up, I'm gonna have, well, I have one boss now, but I do know, and that is the higher power, you ladies and gentlemen, is what he was referring to. So
That's
when
right.
we reference all the way to heaven, he knew then, and in the early time, that that's where we were going to head, is all the way to heaven, and we got one boss. So I want everybody to strive for that.
Only one. Only one. Only one.
I love
everybody,
it.
Everybody else might be. There may be a manager. There may be a you know, an agent. There might be all of these different things, but there's only one true boss at the end of the day. And look, and if you don't believe me, I think the whole world is seeing it now for themselves.
Absolutely.
You know, so no matter what you thought about how your life is, or what you thought your life would be, or how did you think, or you know, or you look at the conditions of the world and how so many people had all of these different plans and all of these different things that were going on, and how they had their whole schedule mapped out. I know people who have showed me a board, like, of their schedule of every day, how they're going to spend their time, which is great. You know, what they want to put their attention to and all these different things. But guess what? When the real boss says that board is insignificant, all of the scheduling and all of the things that you thought you were going to do, you're not even doing no more, because there's a change. There's a change in the plan, and the whole world has to answer to that change. People wanted to fly to different places, and it's places that you can't even fly to like you thought you would, like you did before. Why is that? Because something changed it, and whatever it is that's changed it, whatever you believe that changed it, the bottom line is that something has control over what you thought was in control.
That's right.
Pretty deep when you think about it.
We love it.
You know what I mean? It's very, very deep. So yeah, so I'm very happy to be on your show. I thank you for having me on your show.
Yes.
And
we love you on the show.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
The Virgos. We're the Virgos.
Hey, look, and once I heard that,
y'all all right. Y'all all right.
That's it.
Amen.
Party with the Virgos. Hey, party with the Virgos.
Y'all two make it make sense. Y'all two make it make sense. You know.
I love
Marc
it.
Dorsey, thank you for coming, ladies and gentlemen. If you do not know or remember, I Can Love You Better was like major.
Well, you know, my beatboxing career wasn't going nowhere. So I had to work on something else. So it's good that you got me and this brother. I was always a fan. He's one of the cats that made me say, you know what? I could read and write, but shit, you know, I got something in me that's bigger.
That's
And it's
right.
just that freedom of expression. I don't care if
Yeah,
it was beatboxing, beating on a bucket,
that's right.
but you know, and me, you know, that was Mother Africa.
That's right.
And you know, Doug is one. I'm like, yo, he still tops to this day. You
I
know,
appreciate it,
don't
brother.
nobody like
The
me but
greatest
my
entertainer.
kids. My kids don't like me. After the first and after that 15, because I get paid bi-weekly, they don't
Oh
care
my
nothing
God.
about me. But this brother right there,
Woo. I show you love every day of the week,
yo,
brother.
yo, he's the original baby face. Because
And he still
nobody
is the
knows
baby
his
face.
age. Nobody know. I don't know how he keeps it out of social media. You know, I don't even know his real name can't be Doug E. Fresh.
It's the real
I've
name,
never
baby. It's the real
questioned it.
name.
I've never
Oh
questioned, but he could put that, he could be an endorser and say
man.
Dougie Fresh, and you know it's him.
That's
We
it,
know it's him.
brother.
But my
We
And
brother,
I
he's
appreciate
brown
that.
skin.
That's right.
He
And
representing the dark
happy
brother.
to be down with them
Hey,
browns.
yeah, that's
He
what
said,
I'm
don't get it
saying.
twisted.
I don't know. Is it something in them chicken wings you selling?
Man, it's something in the coconut water. That's what
Oh,
it is.
coconut? Oh, okay, I
That's
hear you,
right.
man.
That's right. That's right. That's
Guan
right.
boy.
Yes, man. Yes,
Guan.
respect. That's right. That's right. That's right. I
Thank you,
love it.
baby. But this
Yeah.
brother, he said to me, I think it was, I did a record with Spike Lee, and I did a remake, Tom Bell Led the Creed record called
Yeah.
People Make the World Go Round. And
It's
Dougie
classic.
was actually hosting the Apollo at that time. He said, yo, you come with one more, you got it. You solidified. I didn't know he meant one more song. I came with one more child. And I kept
I'm not.
going. So I've been
Yeah.
trying to find solidification after 4 kids.
Oh gosh.
You are solidified, my brother.
Oh, thank you. I mean, in one way or another.
You are bona fide and solidified and qualified. You know what I mean?
Thank you, brother. Thank you,
That's right.
man.
That's
I
right.
just want to say that, you know, you never age. And
No,
I'm
I
just
appreciate
waiting
it.
for the day that they're going to erect your statue at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Amazing. Yes.
Prince
Yeah,
Yes.
didn't
well, you
take
know.
you there.
Yes. That's
You know,
Yes,
good.
sir.
Martin didn't take you there, but you know, somebody gonna take you there, brother, where you gonna be remembered.
Oh,
And
well,
if
we
it's not
remembering him
me, it
now.
might be my kids, it
Oh, you
might be
know,
your kid. It's gonna be somebody, and that's what they talk about, that one person you influence. You know, all you need is one that can change nations. And you've been that person for me, bro. When it comes to hip hop, you, Kane,
yes.
Ed, and all of that, man, it's just the part that you play, brother. And the fact
Nah,
that you
thank you, brother.
brown skinned it, you know, I'm more than happy to claim it.
That's
You know,
right. That's right.
I am Jamie Foxx or Malcolm X or
That's
Dougie
right.
Fresh or
All
Will
together.
Smith or Denzel Washington. Because
That's
they
right.
all go together. You know, the
Brown
hand, you know,
skin.
has many fingers, but it's still the hand.
Amazing. We love it. We actually do. I am wanting to ask you, you all created songs, early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, to speak to, i.e., all the way to heaven. Lottie Dottie, I heard you speak of yesterday, Doug, in terms of you basically was chucking the deuces at people to say, listen, if you don't like it, I love it. I'm going to continue to do what it is that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
As we speak to people, make the world go around. We have all of these titles to songs, all of these lyrics that are now so relevant. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying we have to classify it as a visionary in its
Right.
entirety. But how do you feel about where we are today and those lyrics that you all were speaking of then, and now they still are so relevant?
Well, for me, I look at it like this. You know, there's many different levels in life, you know, and we always You know, one day you wake up, you feel great. Some days you wake up, you might feel a little tired. Some days you wake up and you feel inspired. Some days, you know, you feel like, you know, you got some things on your mind, or you may be going through things in your relationship. So, and I was talking to Barry B about this last night. I feel that music should always represent the time.
Yes.
And I feel like the artist is the storyteller of the time. And when you are in tune with the time, you are able to take the time and put it in music and in song and in vibration. And then you push it back out. And when you push it back out, meaning you make it, you sing it, you rap it, you know, you play your horn, whatever form of expression you use to get it out, that music represents that time. That's why when you hear an album like What's Going On by Marvin Gaye,
Yes.
one of the things about that album that's so fascinating is that he identified with the time in such a way that the album is timeless.
Absolutely.
Because when you listen to it, it takes you back to what was going on at that time. You know, when people do a movie and they use a song in it, or they score a movie, anybody that really understands how to score a movie or to capture the essence of the time, you need a song that represented that time or that was popular in that time, because it makes that story that much more believable. You see what I'm saying? Because that music came out at that time for a specific reason, and this was going on at that time, and all these different things. So I feel the music that we have made represents a time, and there was an energy and there was a vibration around that time. And the music that we made become timeless because we accurately hit that time. So when a person hears the song, they remember that time. They go back to that time. You know, mentally, you go back to that moment when you were in high school doing the WAP. You know, when you heard Eric B. and Rakim, Eric B. is president. When you heard, you know, Hip Hop Hooray, ho, you see people put their hands in the air. You know, so I feel that it is the artists who complement the time, and when you complement it correctly, it locks in to that time. And some songs are timeless because some things are happening over and over again. Like, for example, when you listen to Malcolm X say certain things, or Martin Luther King say certain things, and then you hear the young lady Tamika, you know, say certain things now, or Sister Soldier, you can hear that we are dealing with the same set of circumstances. So look at that. It never changed. So if you hear music, that music will connect with these particular times because we are dealing with the same thing. You understand? It's and that's why some songs can be sung again, because we are still dealing with the same thing. So I think as an artist, that's some of the things that we have to look at when we're looking at the times, and we have to think about, we don't really have to think about it. Let me take that word think out. We have to feel. We have to feel what the times, what times that we're in, what are we going through, and how do we best express ourselves at this particular time. I hope you understand. It makes sense to you on what I'm saying. Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like a deep question.
Well, and just to spin off from that, when we looked at the BET Awards last on Sunday, I mean, what did they open with? The Public Enemy song, and he, you know, it said 1989. He turned it and said 2020, and you know, you're in awe for a minute, like, is this still really happening? And in so much of its entirety at that moment, it was not a break in it that is not relevant right now. You know, to say, well, it's not really that part, but it's this part. It was the entire, you know, amount or the entire content of the song that we were listening to, and we're still dealing with what Tamika has to say, or any of the others that are on the front line. So
Right.
you know, for us, and
Mhm.
speaking to even the young people on the front line, you know, I'm saying to myself, how do we explain to them that you know, it's almost like we're leaning into them to fix it at this point, because 20 years later we still haven't been able to. We've made accomplishments, but not so much as to say that those lyrics aren't relevant, or we still can't, you know, we can say, oh, okay, well, we checked that box, but we're still, you know, pushing towards this common goal, whatever it is. I just, it's just amazing to me to have listened to that song.
Yes.
And we're still having the same conversation. And Mark, when we're talking about the stylistics wrote People Make the World Go Round, and you did the remix or remake of that song, do you feel like you want to do another remix of the song today?
Mm.
It just depends on the lane, man. I've always been a spiritual person, been a universal cat, been somebody that, you know, I did another record with Jay-Z called Fallen Soldier. You know, who's going to tell the story of those at a certain point in time? You might not get it then. You might be that much of a visionary where your story needs to be told 10 years later, 20 years later, 30 years later. You know, who's going to remember me when I'm gone?
Mm.
You know, who's going to remember me? You know, it don't have to be my own kids, but you know, that's, you know, that's a deeper discussion, because then that becomes doctrine and
Well, that's why we're
education
here.
and how
We
you
want to have a
teach it, you
conversation.
know, but that's more of a cognac moment. That
Damn.
that ain't
Damn.
necessarily that
Who
ain't
need
necessarily
Woo.
champagne. You know, it's just certain shit that
Okay, let
cut
me make a
deep.
note. I'll
Like,
make a
you
note.
know,
Next one.
don't make a note, because then it's copyright
Woo.
infringement, you know,
Woo.
because now it's recorded.
Man.
You know,
He said it.
revolution ain't gotta be televised.
That's right.
It's
This
That's
is
right.
a
shame in
market.
there. How do
He
we
said it.
monetize that?
Uh,
You know, a
cognac
futuristic
moment.
thinking.
Damn.
Yeah, futuristic thinking into a modern day society. You know, we can't even, we can't even put that into words, but you know, how do we tell we Christians? By love. And love is something that ain't going away. And
Right,
you
right.
know, our history, you know, I've passed this brother, I've admired, you know,
Brother.
and those that ever, you know, we getting older, we getting better. We getting wiser,
Right.
you know. Brother Doug, he said something. He took a word back. At a certain point in time, you know, there's a humbleness,
Yes,
and
yes.
Doug's career, even if he fucks up a word, it's just certain shit. Like I said it, motherfucker. I came from Von Harper Quiet Storm. He brought
Woo.
me up to New York in like '89,
That's right.
and he would just say shit that was so graphic, and it was people
And
respected him for it.
the way he said it, and the way
Yeah,
he
and the
said it.
way he said, he didn't sound like that in the morning when he woke up, because I might answer the phone and Vaughn, hello, this is Vaughn Harper, the quiet stuff. You don't sound like that, Arthur, but it's just what you personify and what it is, and you got, you know, certain things that you look up in the dictionary. We got our dictionary. Doug is in that dictionary. You know,
Oh, that's the hip hop
Valencia
dictionary.
Genevieve, you're in that dictionary when it comes to a certain type of woman and a certain type of respect. So it's a certain candor of what they call a candor. So, I mean, I've just always been that type that, you know,
I
I love
agree.
Luther. I love Marvin. He loved a woman a certain way. I could love a woman a certain way, but love is love.
Like I had to post Crave this morning because I was about to drop my coffee when I went back to that. Oh my goodness. I love
Well,
that
I
song.
crave every day. I
Fix the
crave
coffee.
financial freedom, you know, equality freedom. My kids go out to school or they work this, you know, I crave a lot of things, but you know, when are we gonna band together? When are we gonna say, you know what? We got to slaughter some sheep in order for us to get it, because you got it Jewish, you got it, you got it, I guess, European, you got it in so many other races, but when it comes to African American, everybody are looking to see what we're doing.
Now we
And
definitely
I mean, I just feel like, even those that have come before me, if I can tell this story a different way and be genuine and be within my heart, maybe I can connect with 10 other people. It ain't got to be the 10 million Dougie connected with, but everybody got to play a part. I
Everybody
got,
plays a
everybody
part.
got their
yeah,
lane. You
yeah,
got
I
10 and
got
I got
seat
2.
cushions. I got seat cushions. He got the real thing. You know, I'm wearing Rockports now. He might be wearing, the Rocker wears. It's
as,
He
just the
as,
still got
as
the
time.
long
valleys
as long
on.
as long as we get there. As long as we
Yeah,
get there.
exactly. And it don't matter if I get there or he get there, is that we get there, because it's about representation.
That's
Yes.
It's
right.
about playing your part. Because if somebody knocks an elderly woman out in the street, they not looking like, oh, he's different. They looking like he look like him.
That's right.
Or if he does this, if it's success, if it's Kanye, if it's Doug, oh, well, he could do it too, because, they done busted open the market share. So we got a few more Beckys that might like us because of him or because of her. Now, you a representative.
Oh, those are
Right.
the ladies that you were speaking of yesterday. The ladies, everything was written for the ladies, remember?
Well, it always is. Mother Earth, to our mamas. If you really love women, you're going to love your mama.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes,
But
That's
not
where
what
it
definitely.
she
starts.
was or not what she is, but what she's supposed to be as a black man. A woman can't teach that. But
Yes.
you know what you want. You know what you aspire to be.
And that's
Michelle ain't Michelle for no reason.
that's the awesome point to, again, to the young people. I mean, that's what we're here for. And what I call to lean in is to be able to get this foundation, to be able to get this reference point as you're moving around with some sort of idea, some sort of strategy that you have, you're able to pretty much compute. All right, here's where we are, but this is what we need in order to be able to connect, to be able to get to where we are. Because the young people, they move with emotion. And we all know that the emotion isn't necessarily what's going to get us there. You got to actually, you've got to stand for something more than that. The emotion will have what's going on continue to go on. But, with that, I think that when we come together in these type of platforms, that it is essential for us to say, here's a movement. We are strong as a people, and we want to continue to build, what we can from the legacies that you all have laid for us to be able to say, this is where we're going, this is what we're going to do. So I definitely applaud you for all that you've been doing. And Doug, I can say for me, I am just ecstatic and so grateful that you joined. And every message that you have said on every platform, I listen. Your fresh talks are so fun,
Yeah.
and we're
Sir.
always learning and learning from your different perspectives. And I think that you're reaching different demographics, as Mark was just relating to all of those that are out there. You can talk to the markets, and you can talk to the ages, and they are not like, oh, I can't listen to him. He's not, this person, he's not that person. They give you the respect. They say, I hear you. We might not eat lettuce sandwiches, but we might lay off the chicken and the French fries with the ketchup, but we gonna make sure.
Or cut back on it a little bit. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
indeed.
Because
Yeah,
it's
because
so good.
that's what it's all about. I mean, for me, and I appreciate what you said, because it's really all about looking to give people positive, healthy, constructive information.
Yeah.
Because it's, I always say, I want for my brother what I want for myself.
Absolutely.
I want for my sister what I want for myself. I don't want them to lose their life because of lack of information.
Right.
One day I was doing a show for this brother out in Little Rock, Arkansas. It was a promoter, and he was a good brother. And we was coming up to the day of the show, and he was promoting it. I did radio for it. I did a video drop. I did everything to help him push this show. And he was putting his whole effort and his whole spirit behind it. He was a one-man band. He had a club. And he asked me to do it for him because I said Little Rock, Arkansas. People don't know. There's a lot of black people in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yes, indeed. Yes, sir.
Right. So once I knew that, I started helping him. But guess what happened? He basically went to the hospital the day of the event, and he had a diabetes attack.
Oh no.
And it was because his sugar got up to maybe 550 or something. And them numbers right there are not good for somebody who has diabetes. You know, you could pass out. There's a lot of things that can go on, you know. So when he got to the hospital, he called me. He said, "Hey, Doug, we got to cancel the show, so don't get on the flight." He said, "I can't open up the club. I don't want to go on with it." He said, "I'm in the hospital now, and I have to postpone it." And I said, "Wow, man." I said,
Wow.
"What happened?" He said, "My diabetes got the best of me." He said, "Hey, man." He said, "You know what I'm going to do, man?" He said, "I think what happened to me," he said, "man, I've been eating that white bread, but I'm going to start eating the wheat bread." And when he said that to me, I was listening to him. And at that moment, he said, "Yo, I got to go see the doctor." And he went back in there to see the doctor. And then I let it go, right? But I called him later and I said, "Hey, my brother, I wanted you to know that I wanted to tell you that whether you ate the white bread or the wheat bread, they're both bread and they're both starches, and the starches turn to sugar. The sugar brings your sugar up because it's making your sugar go up." And he was like, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Because, you know, I want you to know this, because you might find yourself back in the hospital just because you thought you were doing the right thing. And you are right that wheat bread is more nutritionally valuable than white bread, because white bread is enriched and it takes everything out of the bread." I said, "But when we're talking about diabetes, they all turn into sugar." He said, "Wow, man, I didn't know that." I said, "Yeah, brother." I said, "So, you know, I'm trying to share this with you." So my point in saying this story is that, you know, later on, we went and did the show, and I came out there and I seen him. And he said, "Doug, I appreciate what you told me." He said, "Because I stopped eating bread." He said, "Because I felt like the bread thing was just making my sugar go up, and I love bread." He said, "And I didn't even know that the wheat bread was doing the same as the other bread." So I just think that it's about giving people positive, constructive information that they can apply in their life so that they can live a better life, a longer life. Nobody don't want to be having to take insulin unless you have no choice. But what if you had a choice? What if information gave you a choice? And we all know that information is power.
Yeah.
That's true power. Power is in information. So I just think that the more we learn, I think it's selfish for me to know something and not pass it on to someone else who I know can use that information to change a life, to save a life, you know, to better a life. So that's the level of energy I come from. So I'm just saying that to say that that's the whole reason why when I'm doing, you know, shows like yours or other shows, I try my best to give accurate, precise information. And if I'm wrong about some information, I have no problem being corrected, because then that's more information for me. You see what I'm saying? So it goes both ways, but I always do my best to make sure that if I say something, I accurately, scientifically, mathematically looked into it to make sure that the information is accurate.
Right, and we appreciate that, and that's what we listen to, because we know that we can trust the source, right? We can trust this source, we can trust that source.
Can we get you on a sweet and low commercial, Dougie? You know,
hey,
can we get you on something? You know, because they're giving it away to them.
Look, I'm ready. I'm ready when they ready.
Each one, teach one.
That's right. And that's how we reach one. or
Yes,
more than
sir.
growing.
There we
You know,
go.
We want
that's
to
right.
reach, yes. So with you being in one of the states that they are considering closing back down with the COVID, how are you adapting to that? What are you thinking about that with all of the release so fast, and now your state or a state that you're actually in right now has to potentially go back into quarantine?
I think it's unbelievable. I think that where we at right now is, I was talking to a series of doctors. One of my doctors, who's a friend of mine, who's the president of a foundation that we created together. His name is Dr. Alaje Williams, and he's out of Columbia Hospital in New York City, which is one of the biggest hospitals in the country. And
Okay.
between him and Dr. Oz and the other people, Sanjay Gupta, and all of the different frontline doctors who are really accurately assessing what's going on, we seen this curve coming in before it even happened, because people are not practicing social distancing. A lot of them are not wearing their mask, which is right here.
Right.
A lot of them are not, doing necessary things or washing their hands. That's right. That's right. See,
Yes,
but
sir.
that's why what I did is I have a song called 20 Seconds or More, and I
Yes.
put a lot of different artists on there just washing their hands. It's
Yes.
on YouTube. People could pull it up, and and it can inspire and motivate people to understand that if you wash your hands for 20 seconds or more, you could save a life. Because if you don't want to pass this to your grandma, your grandfather, your uncle,
Sure.
your aunt, or
Yes.
whomever's in your life, you will do the necessary things to change lives. So I feel that we're in a time where people are somewhat conscious of only themselves, and they're not thinking about the other person, because if they were, they would do the necessary things to make sure that they wouldn't pass this on. And you can be any nationality, any color, any race, it doesn't matter. This virus do not discriminate on any individual. You
And we see
understand?
that now. We see that.
Right. And I just did a Latin version of it,
Yeah.
and the Latin version comes out tomorrow, like
Nice.
the thing. And I'm doing a couple of news stations, because the numbers started to go up in the Latin community because of the close knit of the family. And, grandmas and uncles and aunts are passing away. And think about it. All you had to do was wash your hands for just 20 seconds, man. Unbelievable. You see what I mean? That's why I keep saying information is power. Because imagine so many people are walking in the house and they're doing the same thing. They're not even thinking about washing their hands. I see people outside who's drinking, smoking, going to the clubs or to the bars, and they're in there, man, passing drinks to each other, passing blunts to each other. I mean, come on, baby. It's like, that's not helping all of us. So I just try to put the word out there, because I also know this, just to be completely honest. I know it's hard to be quarantined for so long. I know it's hard. Some people are quarantined with each other, and they were friends before the quarantine, and now they can't stand each other. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And then you got some people who hated each other, and then they got on quarantine, and they love each other. So
Yes.
I think this quarantine thing worked two different ways, one in good, one in bad.
Yeah.
And sometimes we got to get out, but you still got to practice that social distancing. That's my opinion.
And I think that is
Safe sex too, because I'm in public health right now. So
Exactly.
safe sex,
Exactly.
prep.
Exactly.
I thought you were gonna
But
keep going with that. That's why. That's why on the back I was
I
like,
could,
let
but
me be quiet.
I got to sign a disclaimer nowadays.
To what?
Too
To
many
refrain from one
teenagers
more.
watching, and right wingers, left wingers, north
that's
wingers,
right.
south
No
wingers.
wingers.
I'm on a wing on a prayer right now, but
That's right.
just
That's
protect
right.
yourself.
That's
Well,
right.
that's a good message. You're absolutely right. I mean, I don't know what people are doing. Are they minding the quarantine? I think people were at the very beginning, and now it's kind of to the point where they're getting restless. But I mean, I think Fat Man Scoop asked on his show the other day, is it worth you coming out of quarantine for you to engage for the possibility of contracting the virus? And I mean, there were some mixed conversations about that. So I think that's interesting that people would even consider,
Mhm.
you know, that situation right now, not knowing. I mean, if it's someone that you said that's in your home and that is one thing, but if it's not someone that you know, is it that serious to meet them at the bar? And
Yeah, I mean, I would just say, like, you know, I speak to high school kids about sexual safety, healthy relationships. We was talking earlier, Valencia, about mental health and this, that, and they're just certain, I guess, triggers and things that you look for when it comes to that certain behavior. And if you're around people, you know, you have to have that conversation. You have to know who you're around. Um, you know, the 6 feet away, you know, family members, you know, all of those things kind of inhibit your ability to be safe in quarantine. Because I'm not gonna hug my children. And you know, they playing in the dirt. And then I got one, I don't know where he is certain hours of the day. But when you come home, son, was you safe? Yeah, yeah, Dad, you know, everybody lied to a certain extent.
That's
You
right.
know, but
That's
I
right.
mean, it's just having that conversation is just gonna get you first through the door, and breeding and sharing some type of a rapport to where you can be honest.
yes,
You know, and
that's why we
that's
have.
health wise, that's in your relationships, that's in your business relationships. Just having, you gotta let somebody in on the hustle. And that's where, you
I
know, I
agree.
mentor, I do this, that, and the other. Somebody you got to be honest with in order to ensure your survival. So if
That's
I'm
right.
out here without a mask and I'm in this person's face and I come home, I got to talk to you about it.
Mm.
And, you know, I got to sequester myself. If I
Oh,
got to go to work, these are the precautions that I got to take when I go to work.
yeah.
You know, 'cause I got to pay my bills. They ain't giving everybody a 90-day extension. You
That's
know,
right. That's right.
PSC&G ain't get the notice. Verizon didn't get the notice. They cut my shit off tomorrow, and I'm expecting a check. I gotta make sure they good.
That's
You
right.
know, now daycares are opening back up. Now I got to make sure, you know, Consuela, you know, Edouard or whatever, whoever watching your kids or the baby mama, now they got to be secure in what they're doing. So I guess it's just like you said, I see like the family unit kind of getting back together, and those that you feel you know and love that have your back. I just hate to be 60 and fall out with somebody and
In the
70
midst of the
years old.
quarantine.
He always been
Wow.
like that.
Man.
You've been lying for years. You've been my man 50 grand for forever. But you know, I asked you, did you wash your hands for 20 seconds?
You don't want to
You
speak
know,
to
you
Yeah,
me.
you're right.
calling me a lie, nigga. I heard
Oh
the
man.
water. I don't know what we can say. I use all kinds of words. I'm from the theater. You
Oh,
know,
that's right.
anything goes in the theater when it's creative.
That's
You
right.
know, in
That's right.
music, when it's creative, because everybody got a story to tell, but it's just
Everybody.
loyalty, honor, trust, you know, knowing, you know, who's going to do what and who really got your back. And sometimes you put yourself in harm's way from the very people that, you know, they're supposed to protect you. That
That's
could
That
be
is
right.
so
mom.
true. That is
That
so
could
true.
be dad. That could be the brother. That could be the sister. But thank God that, you know, you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. And it's just knowing the word by the word and trying the word, man. Just, you know, it's a trifecta. And you know, how
That's
we
deep.
gonna
That's
make
deep.
it
That's deep. What you said too, brother. When you said you could pick your friends, but you can't pick your family, and I actually learned something a little bit deeper than that on a
okay.
level for me, because you know what's funny is that you're right. You can't pick your friends. I mean, you could pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. But see, this is the thing I learned too, is that blood don't make you family to me.
Amen.
You know, you
Amen.
know, because sometimes just because you and that person have similar, you know, y'all have a bloodline that connect, it do not make you
Mhm.
family. Sometimes
Yes.
the most ruthless and treacherous things are done from people who use the title of family, and they don't act like family. Family is an
Amen.
action. You have to act like family.
Amen.
You have to treat me like family. You have to be family. Don't use the word and it's because of convenience
Yes.
of you wanting
Amen.
something,
Yes.
and that now is I'm your family because you need me to help you get this or that done. Like, family don't work like that. Family is not a
Yes.
part-time gig. Family is full-time.
Full
Either you
time.
family or you not family, and your actions just it demonstrates whether you family or not. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yes.
And I've
Yes.
learned that over the years, because when my mother passed away, you know, I had people who were acting like
Yes.
they were close and we were family. And when my
Yes.
mother passed, I started to see them take off the mask. And I don't
Yes.
mean the mask for the coronavirus. It was another kind
Mhm.
of virus they had. And
Yes.
that virus was that they wasn't real and they wasn't a good spirit. And they
Wow.
started
Amen.
to show who they truly was, you know. But then I deal with the philosophy of I don't have to have a friend to be a friend. I don't have to
Amen.
have family to act like family, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm different, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I won't allow somebody to pretend that they're family and don't act like
That's
family.
right.
So
Amen.
that's
That's
that's a very,
accountability.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah, you know,
indeed.
because some people that ain't in your bloodline treat you more like family
That's
than
it.
a person that
Yeah.
was your biological bloodline. You know what I
Yes,
Because
mean?
that's a
sir.
So
sense of
Yes.
yeah,
entitlement.
right. So that's why I've learned a whole new meaning to that word family. The same way I learned a whole new meaning to love, you know,
Yes.
because people toss that word around. Sometimes you having conversations or you've been in relationships, and the person at the end of the conversation, I love you, after they
Yeah.
done said something that ain't got to do with love. It was the most negative thing that they
Mm-hmm.
said, the most cutting thing that they said, and they at the end want to say, I love you, as if like they're trying to make you or convince you to say
Sarcasm.
that they love you. Right,
Uh-huh.
right. Or in a relationship, if somebody say, I love you, you automatically believe you have to say, I love you
I
too.
love you.
Right, but
Yes.
now if I love you, it don't always mean I have to say that I love
Right.
you,
Mm-hmm.
because to me love is a demonstrative word that's proven
Wow.
through an action. You
Yes.
show
Mm-hmm.
love. You don't just say love, you show love. And your
Yes.
actions show love. You see what I mean? A person can
Mm-hmm.
say love all day. I love
Yes.
you, I love, but you don't do nothing to demonstrate that you love me. Actually,
Exactly.
I, I thought you might have say that you've been acting. So I
Exactly.
think personally in life, you gotta demonstrate love. You gotta demonstrate it in your actions. The same way if
Mm-hmm.
you say you family, you gotta demonstrate family. And I think sometimes we run into things where people use these things as like a convenient family. You're a
Absolutely.
convenient
Mm-hmm.
family member, right?
They need to create a court on love.
Right,
A
right,
court on
right.
love, because I deal with domestic violence. So
That's
I
right.
gotta deal with that. Unless a woman or man getting cussed out and beat on, you don't think you love.
Mm.
That's another side,
That's another
how you
side
use
to
Which
it.
is back to mental illness, because there's a
exactly.
psychological thing with that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And it's
But
amazing that all of this is being exposed right now.
all
Accountability,
of it, and it's
having
been around.
and get in touch with your feelings, having to address certain things.
They don't call them wife beaters for no reason.
Gosh.
You know, it ain't just a t-shirt.
Wow.
You know, that's a state of mind.
That's right.
Yeah.
I understand that, and that worked both ways.
That's right.
And that's increased now with the quarantine, yes?
That's increased, you know, and it's happening amongst high school, elementary school, where young kids are abusing girls and vice versa, and girls are fighting boys over other girls, and girls fighting over boys. That's, you know, as we get older, they say we become wiser, but I think we kind of put those that might be important to us to the side, because we don't deal with that in our daily lives.
Right.
And you know, it's just certain things, and you know, that's one thing I can say. Well, I look at maybe a Mr. Fresh over Valencia Jones, like what's the progression? Because we can have this conversation today, but does it have legs?
I'm glad you said that, because that was
what's
going to be our
happen on Tuesday? What's going to happen on Wednesday? And you know, that's my way of thinking.
Yes.
You know,
so that's the call to action for us when we're ending this conversation. That's definitely my note, is we have had a lot of conversations, and a lot of people are speaking on where we are, and, you know, obviously calling legislation and, you know, dealing with those things that are taking place. But we do want to, as a people, and you guys that have the influence, I'm going to say you all, that have the influence to be able to, you know, direct and guide and mentor, to be able to say what collectively can the industry, can the culture do to create you know, a different system of ideology, so to speak. And it may not be something that anyone can answer today, but it's definitely, you know, something that we put in our notes, our mental notes, and actually start to work on, you know, a round table, you know, get in the boardroom and decide what can be done as a culture to say enough is enough with domestic violence, with, you know, those that don't find self-worth in certain things, that don't understand what it's like to love one another. And we have a different thought on what love is. You know, those things I think are important. So I definitely am happy to have the conversation, initiate, you know, the action plan, and hopefully at some point we will get back together. You know,
I hope so. I'm with you, Valencia. You know, we got history, honey. And you know, I like to get together with you guys, and you know, I'm in New Jersey now. DC raised me, Harlem made me, Brooklyn solidified me. Now I'm back out. I'm here in Jersey. And for whatever we can do, you know, I heard what Doug charges for, you know, walkthroughs. And once this quarantine is over, I'd like to get together with you guys, because, you know, diabetes is personal to me, and I'm in the whole mental health and substance abuse, and, you know, I just want to be used. And, you know, when it's amongst my people, you know, that makes it more of a plus, because nobody gets anywhere alone.
Absolutely, absolutely. God bless the both of you, and I thank you so much for your time. I hope that this message got across to someone, even if it's one person that says, this helped me in a time that I was in a place that I really didn't know what was the next step. We definitely want to continue these conversations, and with good people, we're going to continue to do the work. And I thank you so much for joining us on Champagne and Conversations today. Thank you.
Thank you,
Doug, brother. Thank you, Marc Dorsey.
Yes,
much love, much respect, Valencia.
Always.
I love you, sweetheart. Kisses to both of your cheeks. I gotta
Much
keep
love.
it R&B. I gotta keep it
right.
R&B. Aquarius is in the house.
Oh,
VAV.
wow.
VAV.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Much love and always much respect. Y'all take care.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right.